friends, we start with the 14th quality. 14th quality is meek, gentle and humble, Mardava. A Vaishnava is meek, gentle, humble and free from arrogance. Meekness does not mean weakness, cowardice or lack of confidence. Rather it means strength under control, humility without insecurity and dignity without pride. The material world often glorifies aggression, domination and ego, but Vaishnava culture teaches that real greatness expresses itself through humility and compassion. A meek person does not constantly seek superiority over others. They remain respectful even when powerful, knowledgeable or successful. In law, arrogance can corrupt justice. In spirituality, pride blocks devotion. Meekness creates the ability to hear truth, respect others and remain internally peaceful. Srila Prabhupada example. Prabhupada demonstrated profound meekness throughout his life. Despite becoming a globally respected spiritual teacher with thousands of disciples and hundreds of temples, he always presented himself as a humble servant to his Guru and Krishna. He repeatedly stated that whatever success occurred belonged to his spiritual master and the disciplic succession, not his personal greatness. Even while defeating powerful psychological arguments, Prabhupada remained personally simple and service-oriented. His humility increased with influence rather than decreasing it. This is true meekness, power without ego. Chaitanya Charitamrita, first time one of the greatest teachings of meekness appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita through the famous instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Trinadapi Sunichena, Taroropi Sahishuna, Amanina Ama, Deva Kirtanya Sadahari. This is the third verse of Sistashtam. In that, Taroropi Sunichena, Taroropi Sahishunana. Trinadapi Sunichena and Taroropi Sahishunana. They are very important. Mahaprabhu thought that one should be humbler than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree in order to constantly chant the holy names. A powerful practical example is humility of Sanatana Goswami. Although he was highly educated, influential and respectful politically, when he approached Mahaprabhu, he did not present himself proudly. He simply stated, "Who am I and why am I suffering?" This willingness to surrender ego before truth reflects real meekness. Sanatana Goswami later became one of the greatest scholars in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, yet remained deeply humble throughout his life. Another example is King Prataprudra. When he approached Lord Chaitanya, he did not appear Lord Chaitanya as a king. He dressed himself very simply and he then approached Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he was accepted by the Lord. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj exemplifies meekness beautifully. Despite being spiritually exalted and protected directly by Lord Narsingdev, Prahlad never became proud. Even after his demonic father Hiranyakashipu persecuted him severely, Prahlad prayed for his father's liberation rather than revenge. His humility and compassion reflected inner spiritual greatness. Bhagavatam repeatedly teaches that devotion naturally softens arrogance and purifies the heart. Friends, the legal parallel, a legal reflection of meekness appears in judicial ethics and doctrine of restraint. Great judges often exercise immense authority with humility and constitutional discipline rather than egoistic activism. The dignity of law increases when authority is exercised calmly and responsibly. Similarly, advocates who remain respectful towards courts, opponents and clients strengthen the legal profession. Arrogance may create temporary power. Humility creates lasting credibility. Law functions properly when power remains accountable and disciplined. A meek lawyer argues firmly without arrogance. A meek judge exercises authority without pride. A meek spiritual teacher guides others without seeking domination. Meekness is not self-hatred, it is freedom from egoistic obsession. Law externally restrains misuse of power, spiritually internally purifies pride. Together they create ethical leadership. Conclusion, my friends, the 14th Vaishnava quality is meekness, reflects spiritual maturity and inner strength. Sanatana Goswami showed that genuine wisdom begins with humility. Same was reflected by King Prataprudra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought this humility is essential for spiritual progress and peaceful relationship. Prabhupada demonstrated that one may influence the world while remaining a humble servant. That is where law and spirituality unite. Authority without arrogance, strength without cruelty, and success without pride. Thank you so much for the patient hearing.